Hey everybody, welcome to Ellis Mowers. I appreciate y'all watching as always. Remember, if you have any questions about any videos that you see, you can email me ellis@ellismowers.com, or you can reach me out on Facebook and Instagram at ellismowers09. Y'all saw a Homelight HT275 weed eater that I had back earlier in January, and I used a carburetor that HIPA sent me for that repair, and it brought that old string trimmer back to life. Showed them the video. They're like, hey, you want to try another one? So we're going to try another one here. And this one's going to be on a Husqvarna 136 chainsaw. Again, thank you, HIPA, for sending me yet another carburetor to try out on this. It worked the first time. And we're going to do proof of concept here before we get started on this 136. But it's just a, I guess a glorified Poland, or an entry-level Husqvarna. The chainsaw is really light. It seems like it's going to be pretty easy to use. Looks like it's been sitting up for a while, and I took the cover off, and the fuel lines are pretty rotted. And so when I see that, that usually means that the diaphragm's probably bad in the carburetor. And this is something I can sell in the winter. So we're going to take this HIPA carb after we take a look at the string trimmer to make sure that it still runs. It's been probably about 3 weeks since I filmed that video, and we'll see what that ends up doing before we get into this repair. But as always, I say in every video to start, this is not going to be a quick step-by-step. A lot of my stuff is in narrative form, and we kind of go through the process together, as you can see by the length of the video. So don't look for this video if you're just looking for a quick step-by-step, although we will get it done regardless. Let's go ahead and get started on this Husqvarna 136 chainsaw using this HIPA carburetor. We'll unbox first after we check the string trimmer here. Alright guys, proof of concept first. Here's the ST275 Homelight that I put the carburetor in a few weeks ago. We're going to see if it runs. Obviously I can't sell this in the middle of January, which is why I still got it. Okay. It does have to warm up for about 30 seconds or so, plus it is kind of cold outside. Started right up there, that's good. I think the engine's a little tired in this because it does smoke quite a bit on startup, but proof of concept. Not a fluke. I like to follow up whenever I get products like this if I'm able to, if I don't sell stuff. So that worked pretty well. Let's unbox the 136 carburetor. All right, here we go. So obviously your support and the products are in that country right there. It's kind of weird because I get they work like completely opposite for me, so I get emails from them in my overnight hours here. But I'll give you the number. I don't know if you can see the number right there, but it is it just says HIPA replacement carb for 137, 141, 142, 136. You'll see it on their website. I'll put a link to it down below, as well as their link to their Amazon store and all that good stuff. See if it's packaged as good as that other one. Actually pretty impressed with the way they package these. A lot of times I just get them in sleeves. This came in a padded envelope in the box, obviously, with this plastic wrap on the top, on the side here. So let's see if the carb's in like a little separate container here at the top like the other ones. Yeah, so they package it all pretty similarly. You've got the carb, separate choke. This doesn't have a, I don't think this thing has a primer on it, does it? No, this is just a choke. This is just a choke and throttle setup. Nothing crazy at all. There's your choke. You pull the throttle, and it goes away, just like so. You got your gaskets in here for your various applications, because it does fit a few different chainsaws. And underneath, we've got the good stuff. Fuel filter. It only comes with one fuel filter instead of two like the other one did for the home light. What have we got here for us? Plug. This is a Savior plug. It worked fine on the home light. Probably worked just fine on this too. It's a funny looking air filter on these, and decent amount of fuel line. Always have more than enough that come in these packages, so you'll be good there. So we'll go ahead and get started on the repair using this carburetor, and it looks like it will kind of looks like a wall burrow replacement, which is what the home light one was as well, and should hopefully have good luck with it. I did pull the chainsaw to make sure it had compression, and I will demonstrate that now. More than enough. And I took all this off just to look, and I poured some stuff down the carb throat. You can see this has been used pretty well, and it needs replacing. Air filter. And the cover was just 4 screws. It looks like he has replaced them with different type screws. 3 screws, excuse me. 3 different type screws. Carb setup looks pretty easy. I think I just got to get those 10 mil nuts off. Yeah, this honestly looks pretty straightforward here. Too late today. We'll pick this up tomorrow. Alright, y'all, let's see what we've got going on here with this. We do have 10 millimeters. Just going to loosen those nuts up, take them off. I like to call these the carb sandwich, because that kind of is what they are. Alright, pull that off. We'll get the nuts out of here. And you can see a bunch of sawdust and stuff in here. This is the original carburetor, it looks like, and fuel lines are pretty brittle. So let's see what we can do. We might be able to just... What's next here? This thing just slide right out. Oh no, there's 2 small nuts under there. They look like they're 8 millimeter. I don't have an 8 mil right with me right now, so let's see if I can get this in here. Nope, I gotta get my 8 mil wrench. Stand by. Had to break the little guys out. This is a 7 millimeter. Looks like it's a stud with a nut with some Loctite on it. So it looks like the studs are coming out with the nut. Don't really have, you have good access, but not enough access to be able to throw like a socket and a wrench on it. So we're just going to have to wrench these out. When I get these out, I'll catch back up with you and we'll take the carb off. This does work actually. So let's take off socket. I'll take this stud off. I'm taking note of how everything's routed fuel line wise. You can see the one line's routed through the top here. And, oh, come on, buddy. Now you want to come off there. Second line. Where are you? Not sure. We'll have to give it an inspection when we get this off. Alright, so that stud is off. This one doesn't want to come off. Come on. There we go. Alright. Now let's see what we can manage. This is a little bit of a sandwich here, guys. What are we doing next? I don't really see anything else holding it on aside from this plastic. Plastic here, or this rubber bushing for the adjustments. Come on, buddy. You gotta get it completely off here. There we go. Oh, it came off with the adjusters, which they're just the little screwdrivers, which is nice. This should just come on off. I don't know why it's not. Because this gasket is, it's not fused, but, oh, okay. So we've got a big metal plate here. It was hiding under the sawdust. There's two Phillips head screws that you got to get out. That's what I get for not cleaning my equipment. So these screws should come out. 1 and 2 right here. And that should free everything up. Kind of does. Okay, so that, there's like a ground, there's like a, I guess a ground nut right there. This is a little bit shorter on this side. And it just fits right back in there, and you screw it back down, and it acts as a gasket. No, I don't know if you call it a gasket, but it's all metal. And then now we can pull this out. So now let me take note of the fuel lines, which are broken and brittle. And is it possible that I only have one here? One. I think I do, actually. It goes down in there. Goes right down there, that middle portion there. I mean, you see this thing is just done. So it's like contracted and snapped off I don't know how many times. Okay, let's see if we can get this throttle mechanism off. Oh, okay. That's easy enough. And then the choke. I think the choke just pulls up, and that's how you get it off. Oh. Easy enough. Remember, the wall burrow goes up. There is only one fuel line to this. There's no, like, EPA return emissions or anything like that on it. So that's nice. Of clean up some of the sawdust here in this area. I can just tell by the rotted lines and stuff that it was gonna be like that. This gasket, this gasket will come right out. So if we look in the kit that we have, let's see if we can find one that matches in this HIPA kit. Hopefully we do. So there's the carb. Let's give a quick comparison here. This is how it compares. I mean, it looks like a copy of a Marlboro. Everything looks to be the same. Everything looks to be the same on it, which is good. Remember the one I did on the Home Light Weed Eater, it had a the fuel lines were routed a little bit differently on it, but it still worked just fine. Like I said, let me check gaskets, see what we've got. We may actually not have one that works. Might have to reuse this one. Take a look at the bottom. Yeah, that is a little unfortunate. We will have to reuse this gasket because it is oriented for the fuel to come out through there, and we've got to have that in order for it to work properly. So I will put that gasket back on. I will get some of the sawdust cleaned out here, and then we will put the new carb on. Alright, so we are at the point to where we're putting the fuel line in. I did take the old fuel filter out, which you can see it's pretty gummed up, or got a lot of varnish on it. I wouldn't say gummed up, but we've got a fuel filter to replace that with. One other thing I had to do is down in this hole, you'll see a hole right there. That's where your fuel line goes, and it's only one line, so it makes it relatively easy. There's no return to the tank or anything, so that should make it fairly reliable as well. Make sure you get the fuel line that falls down in there if it's brittle. There's also a little fuel line that gets stuck in the hole right here, and I just took a broken pick tool and ended up funneling that through and just getting it out of the tank. So now what we're going to do with this line, which they give you more than you need, which is nice. Remember, we've got to reuse that gasket. We don't have that gasket. It is one of the downfalls of one of these universal kits, is that sometimes they have specialized gaskets that you don't get. It has been kind of cold. This fuel line is hard as a result, so hopefully we can get it to slide through. Hopefully some WD-40 will do some wonders. I have cut it like this to help get it through. That way I have a little bit of something to grab onto, and then whenever I get it pulled through here, I can just keep pulling, and eventually I can put the fuel filter on it. So let me see what I can do here. Might have to throw the heat gun of this thing to get it in, but we're going to try nonetheless. Yeah, it's actually bending up on me. Wow. So I'm not going to make y'all watch me struggle through this as I do this, but once I get this in, I'll rejoin the video and we'll get the rest of the carb on. Alright, so this fuel line, I want to make sure it fits on this carb first. And yeah, I mean, that's the right fuel line. It'll fit right on there. I just got to give it some gusto. Has a little bit larger diameter, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drill out the I know that I've still got to create that seal so that it doesn't leak, so I'm not doing anything in relation to that. I am going to take a drill and just drill it out just a little bit because this fuel line is a little bit wider of a diameter and could use a little bit extra room to get in. Again, you have to make sure that you don't drill it out large enough to the point where it's not going to seal. So it needs to be smaller than the diameter of this fuel line, because I couldn't even get the line into the hole before. Now I've got it in there. Or do I? No, it went in sideways, I think. Oops. There we go. What is still struggling with it? What it's doing is it gets down to the hole and then it juts off because there's an opening in between this piece and that piece, and it's jutting off the side. It's not even allowing me to go into the hole here. So that's interesting. Yeah, that's kind of crazy, actually. All right, let me see if I can get at least a point or something down there. Might need to heat it. If I heat it up, it's going to make it harder, isn't it? This is always the hardest thing about chainsaws in particular, is access to the fuel tank. Alright, so that did help it get started a little bit better. Now, I don't want to drill this thing out any further because I don't want it to leak once we get it in there. So I might have to make this thing more porous, more pliable with some heat, because it is only about 40 degrees outside right now. Let me see what I've got going on under here. Can I even get to it? Can't even see it, honestly. Where are you? Not in a place that I can get you. Alright. Let me see what I can do here. Pull it out. Might have to just make a really long area here. That way we can at least grab onto it. Pull it out, sacrifice a little bit of fuel line for this. Because I just got to get it down there so that I can pull on it. Pull on. Yeah. So, man, y'all, this is not been the easiest. Let's see if we can see it now. Can't even see it still, man. can kind of see it. We've got to get past a couple of things here. We might have done it. We're not shoving it down into the we're shoving it down into the gap again. Wow. Alright guys, I don't edit out this stuff because I don't want you to make you think that it's easy. It really is not. Because what it's doing now is it's pushing down. I believe it is did it go through? It did not. So what it's done is it's done exactly what it just did to me earlier. And it's going down in between. Goodness gracious. It's going down in between the two plastic pieces, and I can't get it to where it will grab and go down. I was trying to get rid of some of that residue there from the drill because I could see it in the tank still. The thing is, I can't, there's nothing really for me to grab it on the other side of the tank there for me to pull it down into the gas tank. That's the thing. Usually you can get it through, and then you pull the fuel line down, which I might be able to now, into the gas tank. And let me see if I can try this real quick before I cut you off. So let's see if I can do it. I'm reaching down in here. I'm going to try and grab the line, which you got to check with the flashlight. Luckily this one's not too far down in there, so hopefully I can grab it with these pliers, these angle pliers. Goodness gracious, y'all. HIPA, I promise I'll get to the carb replacement here in just a second, but we've got to figure this out. I'm going to attempt to grab this and pull it up through. Alright guys, I finally got it. I ended up having to use the heat gun. Come here and heat this up. After I did take an edge, like a pretty sharp edge on this line. I'll show you when I pull it out, in order to get it to where it would go through. So now I'm just pulling the line through, and it's tight, so it should seal just fine. It shouldn't leak or any of that nature. And it is, like I said, it is super tight. Probably have to give it a couple of heat cycles and pulls. This is one of those instances where it would be good if you had like 5 hands, but you don't. So we're going to heat it up. Grab the pliers. Give it a pull. Again, if you're doing this in like the summer months, where it's probably in the 80s outside, really not going to have much of an issue with this. It's just, I'm doing this in the middle of January in 30-degree weather. There we go. Trying to get enough to pull out so that I can do this fuel filter here. I think I've got enough now. Maybe just a little bit more. Right, guys, this thing is super, super tight. So now what I'm going to do, cut this off. We'll grab out of the HIPA box. Well, we've even got a backing plate here. That's kind of... Oh, that's part of the whole air filter assembly anyways. Is it? Maybe not. We'll cross that bridge in a second. Fuel filter. Oh, okay. This is the plate. That's the plate that it replaces. That's the spark plug. Fuel filter. Again, it's notably smaller than the other one, but it serves the same purpose. So, it's one thing about if you don't get an OEM kit, it's going to be a little bit different, but it should serve your purpose. So, I might have to heat this up to get it onto the fuel filter. No, we got it. Alright, it's on there now. Just drop that in there. I don't know if there's a dedicated spot in here for it or if it just kind of chills out. I'm going to say it probably faces more towards the front, so I'm going to try and get it into the front there. I don't see a dedicated place where it hangs out. Let me check. Probably just needs enough to... Let's see, I don't see a low spot in the tank. I think I'm going to try and tuck it back in the back there. In the back corner, that way gotta put it on the surface there. There we go. Alright, so it's tucked in the back corner now. Sorry, camera access is just horrendous. Now let's put the carb together. Alright guys, the real question is, do I remember how to do this? I think I do. So it did go, the fuel line did go up and around over to this side. This is where your throttle and your choke is. So I'm going to cut it off maybe about right here. Give us a little bit extra if we do need to take off some. Gasket, remember this is the gasket that was missing. There's a little indent showing where it was. I'm going to put it back on that way. There are a couple of holes, mounting holes, that this fits into. That way you don't, that it orients itself the right way and it doesn't fall off. Now, carb goes up this way. We'll go ahead and slide the fuel line. Oh, we'll tell you what. We'll take this choke mechanism off of the other one here first. Again, it should just be you squeeze the two tabs together and it comes out, but you know, it's not that easy. Nothing ever is. There we go. Alright, that's much better. Let's locate the throttle. I seem to misplace everything, don't I? There we are. Alright. The throttle is just chills out right there. It's actually a pretty simple design. This gasket's gonna fight me as well, so. Okay, choke. Let's get this right. Choke's gonna go like this. It should just pop right in there. It's a tight fit, so there we are. Boom, just like that. Throttle. Like so. And we'll pop that in there as well. Now it's doing what it needs to do. We will venture this around. We'll go ahead and hook this up while we're here. Now the rest of it. These fuel lines are going to be the death of me. Alright. Here we go with the fuel lines. If anybody has any suggestions about how to do this better, please reach out, because my methods are just horrendous, apparently. Ellis at ellismowers.com. You can DM me on Instagram and Facebook at ellismowers09. What do you do to make this easier when it comes to fuel lines, etc., etc.? I'm not a pro at 2 cycles. I love riders. 2 cycles I just kind of do just because, man, this is gonna, we're gonna tilt this up just a little bit while we do this. So you got to get this carb gasket on, the carb on, which now I've jacked up the throttle. So I got to get those in the grooves. Ta-da. Oh. Okay. Okay. All right, we're making progress here now. Okay. All right. See if we can at least get this. I know this is not the proper process. Actually, I think it is. Can we get it screwed into there? This is the delicate balancing act if I have ever seen one. Now I've got to get this carb plate in here, slide it into place like that. Now I have to make sure that my gasket is still in place, which it looks like it is. We're going to take this and see if we can start it with threads. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. My goodness. I think we are. Oh, don't tell me I put it on the wrong side. Are you serious? I don't think we did. Maybe I did. Alright. I think I put the throttle on the wrong way. Stand by. think the throttle, I'm going to do this, and I'm not going to waste y'all's time anymore. I'm going to get you to this point where we get the nuts in. I think the throttle is supposed to be, the thing is, you can't do the throttle without the carb being off. Arg. I don't think. I think it's supposed to be on top there, and I put it on the bottom hole. So I'm going to take this back off, put the throttle in the right spot, and we'll continue getting this up together. Again, I do this because I show you the struggle. Don't want you to think it's all peaches and cream here. Alright guys, next step, I have put this on, and that little rubber piece just kind of seals everything up. And then you got these right here. Do you have to put them back on? Not necessarily. Well, you might try. Actually, I think these might be like little restrictors, honestly. So we might leave them off completely. Let's just see. Actually, I do think these restrict the carburetor as to how much you can adjust it. From what I can tell. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure they do. I'm going to leave them off, actually, so that we can just have, you can just pop in there with a carb tool, like a flathead, and just turn them and be, be done with it. We've almost used everything in the bag. I do have the spark plug that I will replace. I'll do that off camera because we are getting really long on this video. I mean, really long. We will put this, actually we do need to put the two Phillips head screws back in to the chainsaw. Part of that acts as our grounding mechanism so that we can turn the saw off. One. And screw number 2 is somewhere in here. My favorite. There it is. Get all these tools out. When you're working on an electronics cart and you still lose parts, misplace them or whatever. The rest of it's pretty straightforward. I did get the throttle fixed. Bing, bang, boom, right? Got a new one of these. It looks similar enough, I suppose. It's your air filter housing, so to speak. What is going on? That's rather interesting, actually. So why won't it go back down? Did I not put this back on right again? It's working correctly. But it won't. I don't know, y'all. It won't clear the carburetor. How about that? So what this does is it mounts, and then the air filter goes on like so. Oh, that's why I'm putting it on backwards. Wow, Casey. Y'all are gonna give up on me eventually. Man. Alright, now we'll put the tins back on. If y'all are still with me, I thank you, because this has definitely not been my brightest video. I mean, in theory, this should work. And it should run great. Because I did check compression and poured some stuff down the carb throat to make sure that it worked before, and it did. So we're going to have high confidence here. And we'll put the air filter back on. You do need to reuse 2 screws from the previous one. Looks like they screw in, so you need to work on getting them out. This thing originally probably just quit because of probably got clogged up in the carb and stuff, because it looks like it does have some use to it. My goal is to get this garage a lot cleaner before spring. It's in pretty rough shape now. I'm going to screw these in and through this plastic piece and screw them into this. And I'll put this top cover on, which is just 3 screws. We're going to test this thing out, see if we can get it going here. Alright guys, another roadblock in terms of this carb. I am going to have to reuse the original plate. Reason being is because these screw holes are too large to fit this hardware into this air filter. They're for like a washer nut setup and not for a plastic screw setup. So I am going to have to take this 10mm back off, put this plate on, and put the air filter on. I just wanted to note that if you have a kit like this, that you do have to reuse this. So again, you get universal kits. It works for the most part. Sometimes you have to, adapt, so to speak. This is one of these cases. Not really the worst thing in the world, but you would hope that, you'd have something ready-made and you wouldn't have to do any modifications. This is one that you have to do. And so far, this is quite honestly the only one that I've had to do, so I guess I'll take it. Alright, y'all, another roadblock, and we might not be putting this plug in, not because it's bad, it's because this one's in so tight, like, I'm afraid that I'm going to break it off trying to get it off. I mean, it is so tight in there. Wow. Like, how can you even... What do I do, like, crank this mess down? I don't want to, like, break the block or anything. So if it does run, we'll leave that plug in there. Again, we used this plug on the home light and it worked just fine. So I don't doubt the integrity of the plug. It's just, man. Tell you what, before we put this on, I do want to see if it does pull gas up, which we need to put gas. Look at the compression that it's got. Tell you what, I am going to put the cover on. I'll put gas in it. We'll give it some pulls and hope for the best. What do you think? Alright, y'all, I got gas in it. Fuel mix. There is no primer, so we're just going to choke it and give it some pulls and see if we can get it to fire off here. It will take a few pulls. Because we've got to get the fuel pulled up through the system. Okay. See if we can get it. Alright, might have to do some adjustment. See what it'll do here. The idle on its own. It does spin around in circles. Alright, we got to do some adjusting, but as you can see, it will run. And then it come off idle and the thing dies. So I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking. It is running though, so we know that we're getting gas. And it will idle, so that's two big things. I'm going to do a little bit of tweaking. I'll tell you what I end up doing. And we should have this thing running pretty good here before long. So, well, like I said, it's working so far. Just gotta fine tune it a little bit. All right, y'all, we're back apart, not for the reason of it not running right. I got the carb dialed in. I just needed to back off the, what would it be, the high side? A little bit. And it's running great. Now what I need to do, or what I found out, is when I turn the off switch on, it would not turn off. So, reason why was because, and I've since fixed it, but this ground wire actually was broken down on that coil tab, and it wasn't making the connection to ground out the coil. So I put a wire in here. I put it on this side because this looks like it will be a little bit of a pain to get off screw wise with the cover and the whole oil cap deal over there. So it might have just been a couple of screws, but I didn't want to mess with it. I just put it on this tab. Now I just have to take and pull this wire back out here. Ooh, I gotta show y'all. So we're going to pull the wire back out, and we're going to place it down on that hole again, and hopefully that will fix the ground wire issue. And if it does that, if it does fix it, we're in good shape. Oh, just got to slide it through there, screw it back into its rightful spot, and then I will be done. After I put the cover back on, we'll fire it up, hopefully, throw some bar and chain oil in it, and sharpen the chain, and maybe give it a little bit of a cleaning. And like I said, after that, we will be done with this. Taking some time, but we do have a successful fix. I have no money in the saw, and it probably will fetch about $120. Not bad for a couple hours work, I'd say. Alright, before I put the top back on, I have rerouted all the ground wire and stuff. I want to make sure that it works before I put the cover back on. I did test the switch. It's simple. Ohm meter. One end, you put one terminal on one end and one terminal on the other. Touch them. Or, don't touch them, but you have one terminal on one end, one on the other. You switch this off. Should have open loop. Flip it to stop. It should have 0, and it did. So I was wondering if the switch was bad, but it was not. So we have it on now. We'll pull it. Ooh, this thing's got some killer compression on it. And exactly, perfect. Oh my goodness. better. And kill wire works again. Awesome. Let me get everything back together. I'll throw bar and chain oil in it, give it a nice sharpening, maybe a little bit of a cleaning up with a rag. I don't really like to wash these 2-cycle things because I don't want to get water in the carb and seals and all that stuff, because once I fix it, I don't want to touch it because I know how these things can be. But as you can see, the carb turned out great. It's working just fine. Can't really ask for more out of a free saw, Husqvarna saw for that matter. Let me put this cover back on. I'll do the final touch-up stuff, and then we'll finish this video out. Alright, y'all, here it is. I ended up sharpening the chain. I ended up having to take off the bar and all of that because it wasn't oiling. The chain wasn't oiling like it was supposed to, even after I put bar and chain oil in it. There's your adjustment screw as well whenever you tighten the chain back. You want it tight enough to where you have a little bit of tension, but not to where it's hanging down. So I think I've got it about where it needs to be. Sharpen the chain. I did check the oiler. As you can see, it did leave a little oil spot on the driveway when I checked it, which is fine by me. We're going to get it over here, and hopefully I got the chain on correct. And we're just going to test it out on my former tree stump, or my tree stump here for my former big trees. I think I'd call that a success. Let's go ahead and pop over here and finish the video off. You can see it kicked up a decent amount of sawdust just in that amount of time. Should have taken pictures of it before, but I'll wipe it all off before I take pictures, and we'll finish this video up here in just a second. Alright guys, I know this ended up being a long video, and I apologize for that. As I say in a lot of my videos, I like to show you all the process and the struggles that come along with it a lot of times, and I guess some of the obstacles that I face. Luckily, the only obstacle that I came about with this HIPA carburetor kit was this air filter mounting plate wouldn't accommodate the bolts that came with the air filter on the chainsaw. So we had to reuse the old one. And also the gasket inside the carburetor, between the carburetor and the engine block, ended up, there just wasn't one in there. Luckily, we were able to reuse that and the air filter box, and it ended up working okay for us, thankfully. So, just keep in mind, as you can see, the carburetor worked great. Just keep in mind whenever you're buying kind of a general universal aftermarket replacement kit, you're gonna maybe have some parts that don't work properly. That's kind of the trade-off of getting something for under $20. But the premise of it worked. We put the carb and the fuel line in, and y'all saw the fuel line was a bear to get in. I had to drill out the hole for the fuel filter and the fuel line on the chainsaw in order for me to even get it in, even after warming up the fuel line. And then there's that gap there that it was trying to sneak into, and so that was a little bit of a process, and that's really what took me the most time. We ended up having to fix the ground wire on it as well. Works great now. But really, all in all, I have maybe just tinkering around out here with the video. If I didn't have to do the video, it probably would have taken about 45 minutes off. So you're probably looking at about 2 to 2.5 hours of me doing it. And that's with all of the modifications and everything that I had to do to the saw. Again, I didn't get this for anything, and we're probably going to make about $120, $125 on it. HIPA sent me the carburetor. Thank you, HIPA, again. Another success story in addition to the home light weed trimmer. But just keep in mind, some of these parts are a little bit universal and they won't be a direct fit, or you may be missing a gasket or something along those lines. That's just the product of buying aftermarket. Sometimes your cost savings, you trade off a little bit. But I hope you all enjoyed this video. I don't get to do a lot of chainsaws, and I'm not a chainsaw guru. A lot of people love them. I just try to get them running and get them out of here and working properly. But it is something that does sell in the winter, which is kind of nice. And you get some people that will pay decent money for a decent saw, and this is one of them. I mean, a Husqvarna, the Polans or Poulons, whatever you want to call them, they don't generate much money. If you get them running, just get them out the door and call it a day. These you'd spend a little bit more time on. This is not a high-end Husqvarna, but it'll still should bring over $100 in this market currently and during prime season. We'll see what happens, but thank you all again for watching. Again, thank you, HIPA, for sending me this carburetor to fix this. We are 2 for 2 on HIPA carburetors, which is always a good thing. And if you have any questions about the video or any other video, you can reach out to me, Ellis at ellismowers.com, or on Instagram and Facebook at ellismowers09. And until the next repair, I will see y'all then. Take care.